Imagine a man who leaves his comfortable life in the United States, travels to the remote mountains of Peru, and becomes the spiritual leader of millions. This is the story of Robert Francis Prevost, a simple priest who rose to become Pope Leo XIV, the so-called immigration pope. Stay with us till the end to discover how one man's journey from a humble village to the Vatican changed the lives of countless people. Our story begins high in the mountains of Cajamarca, Peru. In 1986, in a small, mist-covered clay house where time seemed to stand still, no running water, no electricity. One day, a man arrived, dressed in simple priestly garments, exhausted from a long journey, with broken Spanish, but an unbroken spirit. His name was Robert Francis Prevost. Robert was not like other missionaries. He didn't come to preach or convert. He came to listen, and what he heard would stay with him forever. Stories of violence in the cities, of hunger in the countryside, of sons who left for the United States and never returned. Stories of a dream of a better life that existed only beyond the border. This was not just a new place for Robert. It was the beginning of a mission not to change beliefs, but to understand struggles. Robert chose to stay. He lived with the poor, learned their language, and worked with his hands. As the years went by, he became a Peruvian citizen. The people started calling him Padre del Camino, the Father of the Way. At first he laughed at the name. What did it mean? But eventually, he understood. It wasn't a physical path, but a spiritual one. The road north wasn't just a journey. It was a painful, sacred call for dignity. On quiet nights, he wrote letters to his old friends in the United States, senators, bishops, NGOs. "Open your hearts," he wrote, "because you are the heirs of a nation born out of hope." But his words fell on deaf ears. So he decided to preach, not just from the pulpit, but on the radio, in marketplaces, at women's shelters, and around campfires. He spoke about justice, brotherhood, and a new kind of exodus, not one of anger, but of hope. Some say it was a coincidence. Others believe the heavens sent him. But in the following years, more and more families began to pack their few belongings. "Padre Robert," they said, "it's not a sin to save your family," whispered an old woman from Ayacucho. And so they left, crossing deserts, rivers, and walls of concrete and fear. A painful journey into a new hope. Back in Washington, officials asked themselves, why this sudden movement, this unstoppable quest for hope? In the depths of a think tank report, one name appeared: Robert Francis Prevost, the man who opened hearts, the preacher of the movement, the quiet father of migration. Years passed. Robert became a bishop, then a cardinal. When the old pope needed him, Robert returned, guiding him in his final steps toward heaven. After the pope passed away, the conclave needed someone who could free the church from stagnation, someone who didn't need a golden mitre to understand the world's suffering, someone worthy of the people. They chose him, Robert, the man with unwavering will and a pure heart. He took the name Leo, symbolizing strength, renewal, and a new path. The world rejoiced. In the streets of Lima, children danced. They cried, not from sorrow, but from joy, knowing that one of their own had made it. In Texas, migrants gathered in silent prayer. In Rome, even the cardinals who once mocked him wept with pride. But with the white smoke came the storm. His critics called him the immigration pope, accusing him of inspiring millions to leave their homeland. Yet his response was simple: "I never told them where to go. I showed them they have the right to go." When his critics heard this, the storm quieted. Some still reflect on his words. He taught them humility. In a historic moment, Pope Leo stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, not with a sermon, but with a letter in his hand, a letter he had written decades earlier in Peru to a nameless boy who once asked him if God would still love him in another country. "He will love you wherever you are," Robert had written, "because God is a wanderer, and you are his child." The crowd fell silent. Then came applause, not loud, but warm, carried by tears and hope. Today, in the border towns of the United States, small altars stand, not for saints, but for a man in white robes. They call him San Leo del Sur, the Saint of the South. Some believe his rise was pure chance. Others think he was an instrument of God. But for millions who still sleep in tents, beg on street corners, or dream of a better tomorrow through their children, he is something else entirely. The man who showed them that migration is not a flaw, but a human right. What do you think about the story of Pope Leo, the immigration pope? Do you believe his message changed the world? Share your thoughts.